Hey YouTube, so where we left off with this thing is this clutch, the primary clutch, is engaging way too soon. And that's because it's meant for a golf cart. And the way a golf cart operates is when you hit the gas pedal, the clutch is supposed to immediately engage so that it starts rolling forward. Even if the engine hasn't fired up yet, just running off the starter, it's supposed to immediately engage, and then when you let go of the gas pedal, it kills the engine. I want my golf cart to idle, which it's not made for. So I did some research and some digging, got a lot of help on golf cart forums online. So I'm going to have to take this clutch apart and see if I can modify it to engage later. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is loosen up this bolt, but not take it out. I'm going to leave a space in there because this is under spring tension and I don't want the whole thing to pop off. I'd also like to point out that there is threads inside the actual clutch that's bigger than this. They're 9/16 by 18 inch fine thread. And the proper way to take this clutch apart is to thread a bolt that size in there and then tap the bolt with a hammer. And the spring will kind of push this cover off. I don't have that size bolt, so I'm just going to pry it with a pry bar, which is not recommended, but it ought to get the job done. And I'm just gonna work around. I'm not gonna pry too hard. I don't want to bend it. There. You see how it slipped out? Now, I can take this out the rest of the way. And I'm going to drop a few pucks here, but that's fine. Alright, so here you have your clutch. I should say that this is basically a Chinese copy of a Comet 94C, also known as the Comet Duster clutch. It's pretty simple. You got these 9, they call them pucks. They're fairly heavy for, they don't look that heavy, but how it works is it's got like an angled ramp type thing. And then the puck sits in there. And as this spins on the crankshaft, the centrifugal force forces these out, but they ride up the ramp. This would sit on top of that, just like that. So they ride up the ramp. When they do, they push this whole unit against the main spring. They push it inward towards the engine, pushing off of this plate. This is a pretty heavy-duty plate. So, what I found online is that you can get these pucks, you can actually replace the Chinese copy ones with actual Comet pucks. You can get them in all different weights and fine-tune everything, and that's pretty cool, but I don't really want to sink that much more money. I could just get an actual clutch made for this application for about $220. So I'm not going to spend $100 on different springs and different pucks and try to get the configure right when I can just go out and buy one. The whole point of this golf cart is to, was a budget build, and I really don't want to get into the territory of it would have been cheaper just to buy one. So the way it works, with it working how it does, what you do is if you just remove some of these, then there's less rotational weight. So it will take a higher RPM to push this in against that spring from this plate. And the way you want to remove them, there's 9 total. You want to remove them in sets of 3s because you don't want this to be unbalanced. If you just took out say 3 over here, then all your weight's on that side. And as this spins, it's gonna, it's gonna wobble. It's gonna wear out all the bearings and bushings in your engine, possibly wreck it. So what you do is remove 3. You take out every third one, just like that. So now there's 6 total instead of 9. And as you can see, they're all evenly distributed, so that when this spins, it's still balanced. So now I'm just going to throw this back together like this, and hopefully this raises my engagement RPM enough to where the golf cart can idle instead of immediately taking off as soon as the engine is running unstoppably. All right, so the proper way to do this would be to do it on the workbench, but like I said, I don't have the right bolt to pull the whole clutch out. So I'm going to try to do it sideways, but the problem is all the pucks fall out. So I think what would be easier is make sure they're all straight where they need to be. Put the cover over it, and then try to put it on. Try to line this cover up with where it needs to go, which is like that. Get it lined up and hammer it on. There. And then that should suck in once I throw this bolt the rest of the way in. There. All right, so now it's time for the moment of truth. I'm going to fire it up. Hopefully the clutch doesn't engage immediately, and I can rev it up a little bit before it does. There's obviously going to be a little drag on the belt, so it'll look like it's spinning, but I'm going to take this 2x4 I have and wedge it, not all the time, but just shove it under there like that, just to put a little drag on the secondary clutch, which would pretty much be like if it was in gear, there'd be resistance there and then it wouldn't spin. Just to see, make sure it won't take off at idle. So, it's spinning and it's in neutral. See how it just stops? I'm barely putting any pressure on it. So if it was in gear, that should be enough to hold it so it wouldn't be spinning. Now, let me rev it up and see where. It's engaging and disengaging. The only problem is I don't think now without all that weight that it'll fully engage. Or maybe it will. Time for a test run since it's able to stop now.